for the rest of the top 20 Ring of Fire startups, you may still approach and talk to them over at their booth at the Ring of Fire stage. You can also sign up for a meeting at a business matching activity with Toasty AI over at their booth. Again, for the rest of the top 20 Ring of Fire stage startups, you may still approach them and talk to them over at their booth at the Ring of Fire stage. You can also sign up for a meeting at a business matching activity with Toasty AI over their booth. And we are now inviting everyone to please proceed to the main stage as we get to begin the first panel of discussion. Again, inviting everyone to please proceed to the main stage as we get to begin the first panel of discussion. We begin at panel 7, Scaling and Surging, Evolution of Community Engagement. We would like to greet everyone a very good morning once again, and we welcome you back for day 2 of 2019 Techtonic Summit Festival of Innovation. And once again, we are tuned in to our first panel. So our first panel of the day, we are to discuss and to tackle innovation. Innovation at its core is about the impact, and thriving communities are a direct result of these grassroots efforts. But is there a way to leverage this towards helping your business scale? To help us get this conversation started, let's welcome our moderator. He has been on a mission to change the world for the betterment of humanity. He is a computer scientist programmer by background and has been coding for over 14 years. He started 5 tech companies since 2008 and traveled close to 80 countries. Out of these 80 countries, he has lived in 15 of them, speaks 7 languages, and holds 2.5 passports. He is the founder of Global South Tech, which is now a global tech community in 45 different cities. They have organized 100 events around the world. Ladies and gentlemen, our moderator, please welcome Mr. Adrian Avendano, founder, Global South Tech.
Okay, yep, I got it. Hello everyone, good morning. Salamat po. ¿Cómo está acá? So I speak a little bit of Tagalog because I speak Spanish, so you guys, as you know, Tagalog has a lot of Spanish words. So I'm really excited to be here. This morning I just flew in from Taipei yesterday for a panel there. And I've been here several times in the Philippines, and this time I'm really excited. It's the second time I've been at Techtonic. I was here last year at the other SMX, so I'm pretty excited to be here this time, different location. And this topic is a topic that I'm pretty passionate about. And the reason is that I love meeting people. I'm a developer by background, but I love meeting people and actually make connections happen, right? So for this panel discussion, we'll have an incredible set of people who are managing communities and bringing people together. So we'll talk about the power of communities and how can you leverage communities to, number one, spread your message. Number two, create leads for whatever activity you're doing. Four, find amazing talent. And fifth and fourth, it's just so much fun meeting interesting people and having cool conversations, right? So before we get started, I'm going to invite my set of panelists. Guys, if you want to come up, if you give it a hand, please, to all our great panelists. Okay. You can sit, there's one more at the end, and you can sit here. Okay, guys, you have your microphones there. Okay. You have water there. Okay, guys, so let's just start a little bit. Just if you can give a brief intro about yourselves. I'm just going to give 30 seconds just so you repeat what I do, right? So we don't get lost. So as I mentioned, I started a global community called GSD, and what we do is we connect tech communities across the planet. We started in New York and in San Francisco first to connect the communities there with Latin America. So I'm from there, right? I'm from North America. Grew up between Mexico and the U.S. And so we've been connecting basically most tech communities across the world with a purpose to, build bridges between countries and make people collaborate. So that's GSD, and we've done events in Manila for sure. You can go next.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Close.
All right. My name is Kavon. I run Toasty AI. So we are a tech company from Hong Kong. So what Toasty is about is our mission is to connect people. So we build this connection matchmaking platform for conferences and events so people can get on, connect before the event, during the event, and even after the event. So that's what we do.
Hi, my name is Judge. I am the Chief of Strategy at Etogasyon. We are a Philippine-based youth platform that aims to help students throughout their education career path. And we aim to do this by connecting them to different opportunities for education, be it schools to apply for, scholarships, online education opportunities, and even offline education opportunities. Yeah.
Hi everyone, I'm Gina and I'm the CEO and co-founder of Connected Women. We're a global community of women freelancers, entrepreneurs and professionals, and we're also building a job matching app that helps companies from all over the world hire talented Filipino remote workers.
Good morning all. My name is George Siosi Samuels. I'm the Chief Community Officer for Tribe Theory, which is a global chain of startup hostels. And I'm also the managing director for a management consultancy called FIA, where we actually specialize in communities and blockchain integration.
And I'm Joshua Arvin Lat. I'm the CTO of Complete Business Online, Insights, and Jepto, basically 3 Australian-owned startups. And after work hours, I also am one of the community leaders of AWS User Group Philippines, a tech community. And every month we also have the monthly tech leaders meetup, where I get to meet all the other leaders of the tech communities of the Philippines, like Python and other tech groups. So that's me.
Okay, great. There's one microphone there, so we don't have to pass around. So let's just start with the basics, right? Can you guys define what is community for you? Like, from your experience throughout your career, what does it mean community. What does it mean for you building a community, and what are some of the key elements that you have learned about community? So let's just start from what's community for you guys, right? Who wants to jump in? Well, I'll just want to jump in? Okay.
Okay. So usually when we talk about community, it's about bringing the people with the same mission together to do things. So I do have two theories to share. Like the first one is bring people together. So we run a lot of monthly community events just to bring startup people together. We run it in Hong Kong. And the key is how do we translate our business value into these community events. And our goal is to connect people. So what we do is we introduce like quick networking games just to, people come to community events for that mission, but they're also connecting with like-minded people. So we have this little game to actually bring them together. So I think that's important. But second theory is something that I think would be a very different perspective from the rest of the panelists is we are a tech company, we're very product-oriented. So instead of using the community to drive marketing leads or sales, we actually use community for a different purpose, for product development. So a lot of people doing startup, you know that you need to build a product that people love, and they are able to cheer for your brand, they're able to tell people about your product. That's your community, that's your biggest fan. So we constantly engage with our community of event organizers and ask them, what's your biggest pain point running events like this? Look at my product, can you give us some feedback? And I want honest feedback. I tell them, if you don't like our product, tell us that you don't like. So we use a community for a product development perspective.
So community is your alpha user testing base.
Yeah, exactly.
So you ask direct feedback from that community when you launch something.
Well, we constantly engage with them. Like when we have a new feature, we ask them, hey, can you check it out? And we constantly chat with them and say, hey, you just finished an event like Techtonic. What's the biggest pain point? What's the part that you're frustrated? So not sales and not marketing at all.
Yeah, just usability feedback and feature feedback kind of thing, right?
Exactly.
Cool. Any other takes apart from, okay, product and community? Any other takes on you guys?
So I came from the opposite angle as Kevin, because so I've been running women's communities or involved in women's communities for over 14 years, and we're building a product now to solve a problem that our community has. So we were not product-centric at all, and now we're using tech and the platform that
What's
we're
the
building.
problem your community has?
So, well, it's a community of women, so there are so many challenges that need to be solved. But one of them is, actually, Connected Women started with the mission to help women entrepreneurs use technology better. So that was because my husband and I used to run an IT company, so everyone would tell me their tech problems, right? And so, and in the end, the momentum built so much that I couldn't do one-on-one consulting or helping, so I just started running events, partnering with tech companies. So we partnered with Google. We did like women entrepreneurs on the web, which was aligned with their mission to help women entrepreneurs use their products better. We partnered with Facebook. We partnered with others. So we were just bringing the knowledge to the community. But what we realized is, even when we help them, what they say the problem is they don't know how to use the tech. They need the training. They need the tools. So we provided that, but then they were still not adopting. So then we realized, well, actually, they need talent. Talent is the missing link for them. So it really evolved over time based on the solution that they thought they needed, and then our realization that actually that they didn't know what they wanted or what they needed.
So finding talent within the community is one pain point you have found, like people within the community wanting to find other talent or other people with different skills and basically align those people together?
It was kind of a long journey. So it started with what is your pain point in your life as a woman, as a businesswoman, as a professional? So often it's like work-life balance, right? That's what they're looking for. Like, I want to be able to do, all of the things that I need to do as a woman, as a family sort of leader and mom, but I also still want to keep my career. So it started more there, and then, so I was like, well, technology is the solution because you have the flexibility, you can work from anywhere, and that helped me personally. But then, if you don't know how to use the tech, then you can't solve your problem, right? Now you just have another problem. So then we help them with the tech. And then so the idea is that they can either scale if that's what they want to do, or they can sort of scale down and have more time. But it just so happened that we realized, so I solved my own problem by hiring a remote team from the Philippines, and so I didn't have to do that implementation anymore. So yeah, what they were really looking for was, can you help me find someone who can just do this for me? And that's how, it wasn't even supposed to be a tech platform. We were just like, yeah, here's some people. And then, so it's really the opposite of what you were saying.
So what's your take on community, like from these guys?
Yep. So for me, very simply, communities are tighter relationships, deeper bonds, as opposed to networks, which are usually the more scalable aspect of groups of people, where the relationships are loose and they can be more transactional. So for me, community is more around, tighter relationships, deeper bonds, and often you'll find that in smaller packets. And actually, this whole fascination with communities for me came from wolf packs. So back in 2008, some interesting things happened, and I've actually learned a lot about communities and productive communities from studying wolves. Yeah.
So when you say titles, can you elaborate relationship and titles for what?
Tighter.
Okay, tighter. Yeah,
tighter. Yeah,
tighter. Can you elaborate, like, what's the mission? What's the purpose for all these people to have this tighter relationships?
Well, that could be anything, and it depends as a business as well. I think we were talking before about how most people are used to communities in the civic sense, right? Like local neighborhoods, churches, like religious groups, etc. And actually, there's a lot of fundamentals there that are really important. But there you can see, right, the purpose for those communities, say religious, right, is higher, right? Like achieving something transcendent. And it can be similar for a business. You'll notice that the strongest communities have some sort of higher purpose that binds them together over a, really not meaningless, but like a transactional objective, right? The strongest communities will do crazy things like, send you merchandise for your own brand when you haven't even paid for it, right? That's where I usually see communities actually formed versus just a network, and that gets confused a lot for a lot of people.
All right, let me get some feedback from the audience in terms of, I want to ask you guys about community stuff. Who here goes to, like, mass? Okay. Who goes to, like, meetup.com? Who goes to, like, meetup.com gatherings? Okay. Any other events? Who goes to, like, an event once a week to just meet random people? So you guys just stay at home or just working? What do you guys are doing? Like, you never meet people? Okay, interesting. So who works, who actually is involved, like a team community sports group? Anybody? Okay, so we have some sports, we have a little bit of church, we have like some meetup. Yeah. So what's interesting, well, it's interesting because the whole idea of community, like the old-fashioned communities, right? It's like church stuff and like family, right? Family is a big thing in Asia. But the question is, now let's talk about mission, So what do you think in this day and age that, we have hyper-connectivity online and people are having messaging, instantly and can meet for dating and can meet for language exchange. What do you think the mission of communities will evolve, considering we have, powerful networks online? So if you can elaborate a little bit about what do you think will be a successful community and what that mission would look like in overall sense?
Yeah. So I'll share my story. So that's actually a good question. So initially, 4 years, 5 years ago, or 7 years ago or something, I just started speaking in like meetups, conferences, and then suddenly I ended up being part of the group that leads tech communities, basically the AWS User Group Philippines. 2 years after, suddenly, I can't remember, I think it's Haifa. Haifa invited us to join this group with all the tech leaders of the tech communities of the Philippines, so Python, AWS User Group, Ruby, etc. And then what we realized that after 1 to 2 years, we realized how important the mission and the vision is, because in the beginning, we were just like talking to each other, sharing our ideas, sharing our strategies, and what works for a meetup or a conference. After 1 year, we decided to have one common mission, which is to improve the the competency level of the tech community of the Philippines, because a lot of people naturally join tech meetups and conferences, but the usual tendency there is, if there's no synergy and there's no overall game plan, long-term game plan to the tech world, basically you're just teaching the basic stuff, when in fact the community could have probably absorbed the new concepts now that we can now start discussing the more important concepts or more technical concepts. One example of this would be 3 years or 4 years ago. We just started with basic concepts like programming, what's AWS S3 or something. And then after 1 to 2 years, we discussed together and we realized actually what the country needs right now is a better discussion of version control, like Git, where a lot of tech communities are focusing on their own product without realizing that the thing that's bridging them is this certain technology. And the tech community leaders discuss, actually we should have a tech caravan where we go to different parts of the country, because we realize that Manila already has a lot of tech professionals, and then what's being left out are the people from Visayas and Mindanao. So we had initiatives every year where we go to Mindanao or Visayas or in northern parts of Luzon, where we teach people for free. And we do that because we realize that Philippines is not just Manila. Philippines is the entire country. And Philippines is probably behind by a couple of years. And it's our mission together, the ones who know that Philippines is behind, that we are the ones who should be responsible on giving everyone this opportunity by giving them the information they need. Because,
so let me see if I understand what you mean. So how do you actually help them? Just how do you make the community more efficient? You said how? Just teaching them how to use GitHub?
No.
Or teaching them specific tools? Or
so the first step is to identify the weaknesses of the community as a whole.
So tell us a few weaknesses you have found.
Yeah, so basically, one, there's no synergy in terms of what the community is discussing. So what we did there is we had a tech community calendar. So that's the first one, so that when there are 2 meetups or 2 events, as much as possible, they don't conflict. It's a very basic one, but that's one. The second one would be the topics being discussed. So my example was just Git or GitHub, but basically that's we discussed the major blind spots on what's being discussed. Let's say that one of the things that one of the topics that Philippines is behind is, let's say, AI and machine learning. So you
want to identify kind of areas, weakness of knowledge points that are kind of weak, and address those?
Yes. So once you have identified the topic or the key weakness, that's when we start having an agenda that, where do we look for resource speakers? Where do we look for subject matter experts to help you deal with that? And then suddenly, after a couple of months, even the tech conferences, the major ones like this one, have those topics put in place, because when people start joining these conferences, at least they're starting to appreciate this more, because they cannot use that in their businesses if they don't even know what it is.
Okay, cool. Let me get his comments, because this guy's been very, very quiet. So can you tell us a little bit about your take quickly on community? And for the audience, what should they do if it's just them and a group of friends and they want to start a community? What do you think are like good steps for these guys to kickstart a community or join a community?
Yeah, sure. Actually, that's a good question it's a good question for us, because based on our experience on trying to build an online community, initially our thoughts about trying to connect people, trying to connect students to different educational opportunities, it really is to what you raised earlier, is a network, right? Connecting people with different with the same interests, aligned with different things, right? So, but how does it then become an actual community? For us, our experience in starting off is to actually just do it on the ground, just starting, doing an event and getting together with friends, or getting together with who you want to be part of the community, and just figuring things out from there. Because for us, we from our experience, we started first with a tech platform, but it was a little bit difficult to then get that to scale, to get students to use it.
You guys, who does not know Educación? Everybody, who knows Educación? Okay, so just to make sure, because you did not mention Educación, so you're talking about Educación, right?
Yes, awesome. Yeah, so when we started off, it was, of course, a regular website that we hoped that users and students and schools would start using. But difficulty was starting something immediately online without, doing rigorous marketing campaign is you have to convince them what the benefit of the product would be. And for us, our experience is there's nothing that there's nothing that defeats a physical interaction to sort of understand what the pain points are. And I think some of the other panels were alluding to that as well when they started off doing events, when starting off on the ground, just to sort of understand what are the pain points of the community and how do we then integrate that into the product. So I guess from our experience, when we started off in around 2015, it was just a platform. 2017, we ran a series of events.
So you started basic tech platform, right?
Yes.
And then you start building your own community?
Yes. So we started doing events in around 2017. First one huge event, and then we realized, okay, actually getting successful, doing multiple events after that, because we realized the value of just bringing the platform that we have to people on the ground to understand what their pain points are. Ultimately, helping migrate them to use the platform and to learn a little bit more about their pain points to improve the platform as well. So I think that's how that's generally been our experience. Not just purely offline communities, not just purely online, but actually utilizing both to inform how we make the online product. Because online really is just an opportunity for us to scale it, right? But what you want to scale, you want to figure out first. You want to see first how that works on a physical interaction level. Once you understand what the interactions are, then it becomes a little bit easier to scale it to the online side of the product. So really that's been our experience. So I guess my advice for people starting off would be to just do it on the ground. Meet up with some friends and see how it is, and then start thinking about the product after that. Yeah.
Okay, guys. So we need to. We have some more minutes left, and I would like to engage with you guys. And please do not be shy. Come on, you can do it. I know it's hard to ask the first question, but I'm sure you can do it. Just think something on the fly, some comments, because I have some questions here that I could address, right? But I would like to ask the brave person to just ask a question. So who has a question? Anybody? Anybody?
Yeah, right here.
Where? You? Yeah. You with the camera? Okay. I was just confused because you were holding a camera. It's like you filming or question? Okay.
Hello.
Okay, that works.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hi, everyone. So this is an interesting topic, but I wanted to focus on the wolf that George was talking about earlier, and how does that integrate into the community that you're building? Because I know that tribe theory is within Southeast Asia, and it's really picking up in Bali, and it's soon to be here in the Philippines. So we're pretty excited about that as a startup community. So how would you like to expound on that briefly?
Yeah, sure. So just to remind folks again, Tribe Theory is a global startup hostel. So we actually have a site launching in Manila within the next month. And I guess on the Wolfpack side, the reason why I joined Tribe Theory was because I saw all of these remote workers, who I call lone wolf types, right? And in our current day and age, in terms of remote work, a lot of people are like, great, I get to be my own boss, I get to work from wherever. But an interesting problem has arisen whereby these same remote workers who have gained their independence and freedom, they are missing interaction with other people. And so now you got these remote workers who are looking to congregate together, but they don't know how to actually work well as remote people. And I learned from Wolfpacks some very basic things. Things like rhythm and timing, things like rituals, things like balancing hierarchy when you're hunting. So that could be in work mode, but then
Hunting?
Hunting.
Hunting for what?
It could be a goal or objective. It doesn't have to be, like
You
food.
can
Yeah,
hunt
right.
boys and girls also?
I guess it could be that as well. But there are those things, and you can also on the other side, what a lot of people don't know is that with Wolfpacks, people thought that it was all about hierarchy, but Wolfpacks actually they mix in between a hierarchy and a flat structure. So it's only when they are hunting that they go into a hierarchy. When they're not hunting, the structure can break apart. So if you look throughout history, actually there are a lot of civilizations that were built off of the observation of wolves. The Roman Empire, the Mongol Empire, all of these civilized, even the Turkish, the Ottomans. And so that just became very fascinating for me. And I think in your own culture, there might be animals as well that you might relate to. In Filipino culture, I'm not sure. What would be the equivalent, right, of that type of structure? But I use this a lot because I personally, when it comes to communities, I think we've gotten so caught up in the shiny, the new, the tech, and I think nature still has all the answers. And so when it comes to communities like Tribe Theory, where I'm actually looking at how can these sites in each city be like, have their own sort of pack feel, right? Where they can be productive because they need to be as startup hostels, but at the same time be social, which wolves are known to be as well.
Awesome. I like the, be tribal,
Yeah.
be raw,
Tribe, right?
be human, not
Yep.
just techie, right?
Correct.
Just basic human principles of like face to face. Let's have some music. Let's do some
Correct.
rituals.
Correct.
The old good stuff. But now we're turning like into virtual entities, right? So we're
coming
forgetting how
back.
to talk to one another.
Sorry, I have a question.
Yeah,
Sorry. What's an example of a ritual?
What's an example of a ritual? Instagram takeovers every Thursday, right? For a team, you could have maybe a pitch Friday, right? Like I'm talking about within a co-working space or a hostel. You can set a rhythm because people are creatures of habit. When you break the habit, it's great for a bit, but then you actually start to crave the ritual again. And wolves actually teach freedom comes through self-discipline, right? True
love
freedom
that.
comes from that.
I love that. Okay, so we have a few more minutes left. I have one actually repeated questions here, and I think it's very important because you just touched on so many different topics, but one key element is community engagement, right? So we talk, I think, rituals will be one way to engage community, right? Getting user feedback, right, will be another way to engage community, right? You're building something online, talk to your real users, and pivot back to do something on your product. So that's a second way of community engagement. Strong mission, community engagement. Any other one you guys think to augment community engagement and community engagement, increase engagement, retention? Another point that we have not touched on.
I think one of the things that we were talking about earlier was sort of transitioning your group of people that are congregating, whether it's on your app or whether it's a network. So I came from networking communities, like running business networking communities in towns. So that was how you got business as a small business, and before Facebook groups and everything else, right? And I didn't even know that these groups existed. My husband and I were running a small IT company. Someone phoned me up. We were brand new. We'd literally just got an office and a phone and a desk, and we didn't have any customers really. And someone phoned me and said, we'd like to invite you to be part of a businesswomen's community. So my first thought was, they think I'm a businesswoman. I felt like a complete imposter. I was like, okay. And then I felt like I was like infiltrating a place that I wasn't supposed to be in. But when I got there, I was completely amazed because there were other women who were either, even newer to business than me, and I felt like I knew something, and there were women who had been in business for years, and it was very diverse, and so I got a lot out of it, and I was part of that community for many years. I brought it to Singapore, actually, from the UK, and ran it there for 6 years. But we called it a network, and then after a while, we started calling it a community, and I think it transitioned because they started taking ownership of what was happening within that community. Like they started to step up and tell us what they wanted and start to volunteer to lead things. So our community that we built here in Connected Women that we built here in Philippines we only started it offline in April 2018 because I really wanted to just keep it online. I didn't want to be out in the traffic, right? So I was like, let's just keep it all in Facebook groups. We already have the platform there. So the group was growing. Once it hit about 10,000 members, they were like, we want to meet offline. And I was like, no, that's never going to happen. You're not going to meet. It's all online. I've done the offline thing. It's hard, no. And are you crazy? In the Philippines, right? But they kept asking over and over again to meet. So I said, okay, you guys meet. Here's one page of how you can do it. Go do this. So we started. So
basically what you're saying is let your community evolve. Let your community get the feedback. Let them self-organize.
It's a bit scary.
Don't be too controlling about it,
I wanted
right?
to control it. I really did. I was like, okay, so seven cities launched that first meetup. And then just 2 weeks ago, we had 49 cities all over the world
That's cool.
running.
That's cool. That's cool. Yeah. So it's like communities are like a self-organism evolving and
You got to let it
going
go.
to different. Yeah. I guess the other key element: create it, and also don't be controlling. Listen to the feedback, introduce it, and then just let this organism evolve right throughout time. Okay. So their time is up. Unfortunately, we can just keep going. Time is up. Sorry, guys. Yeah, I know you had one key. Okay. So, guys, it was so much fun doing this. I'd love to do it again. Another topic on community. And yeah, we'll be around. So if you have more questions, just ping us. And thank you so much, guys. And I'll see you around, okay? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much to all our panelists. Once again, we would like to acknowledge all our panelists. Chief Community Officer of Tribe Theory, Mr. George Samuels. Chief Executive Officer of Connected Women, Gina Romero. CTO, Complete Business Online, Joshua Arvin Lat. Chief Executive Officer of Toasty AI, Kevon Cheong. Let's give a hand to all our panelists and its moderator. We would like to call on stage Mr. Francis Sim, Chief Executive Officer of Social Light and Techtonic Summit Partner. Managing Director of Techtonic Summit Partner, Ms. Alea Ladaga. Thank you once again, and we now proceed to the next panel. Skyrocketing e-commerce and logistics in the Philippines. Are they the next big thing? As retail goes online, our next panel will delve into the future of e-commerce and logistics in the Philippines. We hear from speakers in different aspects of e-commerce as we aim to get a full 360 view of the industry in the Philippines. To moderate this discussion on what's next for this industry